mics now or later? All right, it is 7:09, and I will call to order the January 8th, 2025 meeting of the Ware Conservation Commission. We have with us tonight myself, Chair, Andy Fulton, Steve Nager to my left, Vice Chair. Beyond him, Mike Camacho, our Secretary. Beyond Mike is Ray LeMay. And we have our liaison from the Planning Board, Dave Pratt, with us.
Board of Selectmen.
I'm sorry. I've been doing that at home too. From the Board of Selectmen, yes. Dave is with us tonight. Excellent. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I know Mark was pulled away by a family emergency, and it's good that we have four and we can move ahead. So that's appreciated. Why am I doing that? Got Planning Board on my mind, I guess. All right. We also have a guest with us. And Zach, I think you said if you'd come up to the podium and the mic, just give us your name and state your interest and how we can help you.
Hello, my name is Zach. I'm here to gain permission to night hunt for coyotes.
Last
Sabri,
name too?
S-A-B-R-I.
Thank you.
Yep. I would like permission to night hunt coyotes on public land. Naomi did tell me that there's a separate process for conservation land versus like town forests and other public land. So, didn't you say that?
Yeah, he wants to hunt in the forest.
Yeah.
So I just figured, communication wise, we should start here.
Yep. So
Which town forest would
I was
be of
hoping
interest to you?
near the transfer station.
Yeah. So that's Felch Farm.
Yep. Ideally, it would be like all the town forest, public land, because, you know, if the coyotes aren't there, I'd like to try another spot. But if we could just start there, that would be appreciated as well.
If you would, just briefly inform us about the Fish and Game rules or anything regarding coyotes and night hunting in general?
Yeah, so the basics is that from January 1st to March 31st, it's night hunting season. I need to get permission from landowners, and if it's not private land, I need to come to the town hall, get permission from you guys, and you guys will determine the times that are acceptable. Even if you wanted to shorten the season for me, I guess it's completely up to you guys, but yeah, it's pretty open season on coyotes for the most part. There's not really a bag limit or anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the only, not to try to put words, like correct me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is the only limitation is for actually hunting after dark or the certain time period there.
Yep.
And I presume beyond that, just a hunting license is all it takes, or
Yes.
is that?
Yep.
Okay. Have you scouted out any of the town forests at this point, or?
I have scouted a few, around the transfer station, so far. I haven't really saw the other spots actually as well. I forget the names of them. But, I wanted to start specifically at the town forest and scope out more area during the day. Because of course I want to have a nice backstop, make sure that, there's, things blocking the bullet's trajectory. Of course I would go during the daytime and make sure it's very safe. Pick up any brass as well. Get the coyote off the land as well. I'll be very considerate of the land.
Mostly speaking from inexperience or no exposure to it, but what would you generally be using as a implement to take down a coyote?
I have an AR-15 and I do have a thermal scope, so it has night vision.
Any other thoughts or questions from the commission as we're open to talking with Zach about this?
So are you, assume you're placing bait?
No, I won't be placing bait. I have a Foxborough collar.
Oh, you don't?
Yeah, it's a separate permit for baiting coyotes, so, yeah.
So I think if we approve it, on that form, you gotta have the location. So maybe put map and lot number, or specifically what forest we're actually approving. So that's Felch, the one you're asking about.
Mhm.
We manage about probably 2,000 acres.
Mhm.
Some parcels are probably kinda small for what you wanna do at night with houses around and.
Exactly, yeah. I would never shoot in a condensed area.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, we try to blaze our properties pretty well, the boundaries on them.
Mhm.
So ability to read those and follow that, and if you're working adjoining private properties, that's beyond our discussion, but we'd want to be pretty cognizant of where you're
course.
located.
Yes, sir, I have Onyx Hunt app, so it shows the boundaries and stuff, so.
Excellent, that's smart.
So just so you know, the town of Ware's got, if you just search on Ware tax maps and then the GIS application that's web-based, that's current. I don't know if Onyx is as current, but it's got all, you can project right where you are. up
Oh,
in the
okay.
field. Yeah,
And it's free probably, right?
yeah.
I'll just use that then, yeah.
Yeah.
I recommend we approve it.
Yeah, just a little bit extra for the commission from what I've learned. Some of it recently as within the last month, and some of it from various presentations years ago. The one thing you can't do with coyotes is extirpate them by hunting. They are much better at returning and filling in habitat than almost any other creature out there. So, while coyote is a welcome part of our natural ecosystem here, it is in at no risk. Responsible hunting is something that is an intended use of conservation land.
Yes.
Go ahead if you have some
Sorry
thoughts
to
on that.
interrupt. I'm a conservationist myself. I love fishing. I'm just now getting into hunting, but when it comes to fishing, I always release my fish. I never want to see a species go extinct. Like, I would never, even if I could take 10 a night, which I'm not gonna because I'm not that good, I would not do that. I'm satisfied with like 1 per week if I could even get that, so.
And this is no obligation of yours, but, out of curiosity, your intended use, if you are fortunate enough to have a taking?
I wanted to make some pelts.
All right, so, anything, Mike, or Ray, comments, thoughts that you want to put on record? Dave?
Nope.
Steve, go right ahead.
So, I guess I'd ask Naomi before I make this motion that I was about to make. Did we just, I know we've kinda gone back and forth on who can actually sign these things for town forest. In your opinion?
You guys signed the last trapping, but he also accompanied a document asking for the board and the conservation to sign. Just so you know.
Yeah, I mean, so from a legal perspective, can we just sign and approve that tonight as the managers of the town forest? Or do you want that to go to the board of selectmen as the town administrator?
Are you asking me?
Yep.
I mean, I would follow the same route you did with Glenn. If you give him permission, he has a form. Monday night, I hate to do that, but, I mean.
It'd be a very different scene than what it is right here, right now.
Right, the board, we've got a busy night.
Yeah.
A lot of busy nights, so.
So just for.
So we're looking to work with you, not make obligations or anything like that, but.
I mean, ask Dave to weigh in as well. I mean, we got a crazy busy night, so if I put him in as public comment and he brings it in.
Yeah,
I already posted the agenda, cause tomorrow the post office is closed because of Jimmy.
Special, yeah.
we need to hammer out like who
Right. When we talked
actually
about
approves
that,
these
I didn't,
things.
I mean, this is new.
Yeah, I really don't have much of a weigh-in on it right now, because I don't understand the whole process, so.
How about we just approve it, and then if there's discussion between the boards, then deal with it on the next one to get a policy, so he doesn't have to go, and this is pretty consistent with everything else we've done.
Yeah, I think we're on very solid ground as statutory managers of the town forest.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make a motion that we go ahead and approve it for Felch Farm, town forest.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
That gives you, I think, 600 acres to work with. or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
should be good, yeah.
All right, so Steve made motion, Ray seconded. And do you have something, Zach, here that we could sign tonight that?
Yes, I would need
is-
2 copies signed.
Authorize the chair to sign.
Oh, okay, yeah, authorizing, yeah, the motion was, it was you, Andy, signing that. Slight modification. Okay, Ray? Yep.
All right, we've got the motion seconded, amended, re-seconded, and under further discussion, I would just, again, on just awareness, we've got some of the finest coyotes in the country up in these parts. And honestly, some of what works so well is there is a little bit of hunting pressure up here. Places where there is none, there are some unfortunately very bold creatures that occasionally get a little bit too much aggression with the close proximity they live in. There've been some issues on the Cape in Massachusetts, and I suspect some of that is the population does not face any predation of any sort, and our hunting ethos is partly, not exclusively, but partly filling a gap where we don't have the large predators in our ecosystem at this point that would moderate some of the potential expansion of wildlife to a problematic standpoint, and it'd be great not to have problems, and so I just share that thought. This was something gleaned from a number of different places. So just a little food for thought there. All right, we got a motion. Any other thoughts? There being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. That's all in favor. And if, Zach, you need 2 copies of something you only have one of?
I have
Or do
2.
you, you do?
Yep.
You do have both? Okay, good.
Would you like?
I'll sign, and is one supposed to be held by us, or?
I have to send one to the conservation officer, and I retain one.
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah,
We
I-
print the copy in. That's paper, right? It's
Oh.
not the three-part? Is that a paper one, Zach, or is that a
Yeah,
three-part?
we just have to fill this out, and then I keep one, and then I.
She's asking if you have a carbon copy thing. That's, no, those are individual.
Yeah, they're individual, yeah.
so, yes, Naomi will make a copy for us once I've signed it, so we have one for our records.
Well, I can give you an extra one as well.
Oh, and Zach, you ought to fill in all this info.
Okay, I could do that for you.
Why don't you take some time, fill it in here? I'm not going anywhere once you've got that, so I'm not filling on empty paper.
Yeah, thank you.
Share that, and the town forest is Felch Farm Town Forest.
What's that?
Just Felch Farm Town Forest,
F-E-L-T?
F-E-L-C-H.
C-H, thank you.
Yep.
Should get pen and that.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't that F-E-L-C-H, or is there?
F-E-L-T-C-H.
Does he need the map and lot number too?
We can,
That's all right. I can find it.
thank you. And, yeah, correcting the spelling would be, add the T. All right, has anybody, moving on to other items and down the agenda, has anybody had a look at anybody else had a look at our minutes and ready to deal with them tonight from December 11th?
Second, I have it.
Mike, Ray, any? I haven't looked at them. All right, and I wasn't here. Does that matter? The last line of thought we heard on that is it doesn't matter, even though you weren't present, you still can come to the conclusion, if you do, that they are worthy of being approved, and you can speak up in approval. And of course, you can always abstain if that's your preference, but you don't, I believe what we heard a couple months ago is you don't have to.
If he abstained, that drops us out of a quorum.
This is true. I'll disapprove. Not hard to get along with. Okay. Then I will suggest some edits on the minutes.
Hang on. Finding things up slow.
You can make some copies too if you want to look at
Just
it.
look at it here.
Sure.
No need to waste any paper.
Yep.
I'm good, Andy. Steve.
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay. Then let me go to line 19 on the draft minutes. And I'd like to insert conceptual between A and lot line and eliminate plan. So Mike Pelletier presented a conceptual lot line adjustment for tax lot 201/4 and 202/5 located at 153 Concord Stage Road. Then I want to insert the sentence, Mr. Pelletier owns property that abuts the Eastman Conservation Area Town Forest. And then going to the action item at line 31. This is something I'm just looking for a little help because I don't remember discussing that a request will be made to the planning board to review full-size plans and ensure compliance with easement stipulations.
I had the same question.
Yeah.
That seems like it was related to the other.
So I would propose we just eliminate what's written on lines 31 and 32.
Yep.
Line 36, spelling Zuzu's name correctly with an additional T in her last name. Right?
T-A-Y-T-S-L-I-N, yep. Thanks for catching that. On line 69, which reading from 68 says project for an Otto Brook Bridge. I want to change that for let's see, for A instead of and. Now jumping down to 69, bridge over Otter, O-T-T-E-R, Brook. That is on the state's red list. And then jumping down to 74, halfway through the line has the phrase standing permit in it. That sounds a little too strong for what we have. I think I'd like that to read a regular arrangement. Now, moving on to line 85, I think it's important to note in the minutes, so I would add after that paragraph that ends on line 85, no other responses were received. So it's clear the only response came from Meadows Inn Consulting Company. So insert no other responses were received. Then we have the motion. And I would propose we reword that a little bit to say, instead of move to award, Steve Nager moved to accept the MCC proposal instead of award, and then continuing on to and authorize Chair Fulton, and then just end that motion after company on line 88. So in its entirety, and then, or that'd be eliminating based on their proposal and past performance. I don't think that's,
The only problem there is we're kind of wordsmithing based on what I actually said. You know, as far as minutes. So I don't know. I mean, that doesn't necessarily sound like something that Woodden has said right there.
I'd make those changes based on notes I took at the time.
Okay.
So I don't think anything is grossly out of whack with the way it's written now, but
Yeah.
if you feel like it's better just leave it be, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, I don't think it's that messed up the way it is, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you what exactly I said.
Oh, you said it, so I'll give that to you. So go ahead and leave in based on their proposal and past performance, extending on to line 89. But I do want to go to 90 and change the second, because that was a Mark Phillips second. Certainly not a Chairman Fulton second, as I don't make motions or second motions, except maybe once in 20-plus years. So it's changed Chair Fulton to Mark Phillips, seconded the motion. And then line 95, midway through the line, change with between or after communication, so it would read for direct communication by the attorney representing the town. I believe even at that point, we had already had the direct communication with, but the point was we want to be having our attorney reach out to the abutting landowner directly. And on page 3, I have nothing that caught my attention. Anybody on page 3? All right, there being none, we have a motion on these minutes?
I did, I'm sorry.
Okay, Dave?
Line 53, where it says, at the end of that, to change the culvert time, it should be culvert type, wetland crossing type.
Thank you.
And then I just had 88, Middleton was 2 words, it should be 1.
Appreciated.
All I had.
All right, back to motion to approve. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve this December 11, 2024 minutes as revised.
I'll second.
All right, there being a motion to approve and a second, no further comments, all in favor say aye. Aye. That's all in favor.
Andy,
Yes,
he's done except for the permit asks for hours. Like it says, permission during the hours of blank to blank. He didn't know what to do.
well, just a good approximation of non-daytime hours where you might be out there.
Why don't we just go 24/7?
Yeah.
Let's go 24/7.
We do 12 to 12, yeah.
For when you get home.
But it's a request for night hunting, so why would you say,
6 to midnight?
Well, I don't know, I mean, you wanna get out so, I mean, he can be out there doing, yeah, I guess you're just looking at that.
I think that's the only thing you need the permit for.
Yeah.
You can go 6 p.m. to 6 a.m.
That'd be fine.
If it's dark.
as long as it's dark, right?
Yeah,
Right, okay.
Why don't you just say
Sunrise.
Sunrise to
Yeah,
sunset.
sunrise to
The other way around.
Yeah.
Sunset to sunrise.
Sunset to sunrise.
And it's only until March 31st.
Right.
It's gonna still be dark.
That's the best thing to hit it with, sunrise, I mean sunset to sunrise.
As long as that works with the Fish and Game Authority on it, so,
We'll be squeezed it in.
okay.
All right, so do you want me to go make 3 copies or is he gonna make 3 out? He can make, if I make 3 copies and you just sign it, right?
Yeah, I can certainly handle signing 3 times, so. We'll have that, sure. There you go, Zach.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank
Have a
you
good one.
for doing it right and coming here to talk to us, so. Thank you, Naomi, for helping with that. All right, moving down the agenda on planning board items. There is a hearing tomorrow night to consider proposed changes to the zoning. And one of them includes changes to, I don't know, facilitate or better regulate commercial solar projects in town. And I don't have that wording in front of me, but amongst other things, proposed, with that proposed zoning would be I forget the proper word. Our 28 or 25-foot non-disturbed wetland buffer would be set aside for a solar project. So, Naomi, how can we find the proposed wording, or Dave? Steve's looking at it. Thank you, Dave. Let me be a little bit more direct. Under a proposed Article 38, or changes to 38, 38.6 reads, wetland crossings that are necessary for power lines and access roads that support the photovoltaic array site infrastructure shall be delineated on the site plan. Wetland crossing for the photovoltaic array site shall be exempt from town of Ware zoning, Article 28. And Article 28 is the buffer. So what we have awareness of, sort of indirectly, is that planning board is looking to exempt the crossing for this sort of non-residential solar array to be exempt from wetlands, some of our wetland zoning.
They
For one
probably be
thing.
more exempt than that. All of the solar farms that I've been on, that I've worked on, they get their permits, but they also get permission to cut all the trees within a wetland because of the sunlight. So basically, they wipe out all the vegetation on top of wetlands in order to give sunlight to the solar panels. And that's all of the ones. I've been on like 20 of them.
Which is 20 more than I've been on.
Yeah, so we put silt, this is the stupidest thing. They'll clear cut the whole site. They run skidders, they're not supposed to, but they do. They take everything out. And then we go in and put silt fence all around that after the fact. Like, that's gonna do some good now.
Right.
But that's what they pay us for, and that's it. Then they regrade everything around that wetland. They don't touch it, but the trees are gone, all the vegetation's gone.
Yeah.
And I would have to think that there's some sort of paperwork that says that they're allowed to maintain that area to keep the vegetation out in the life of the solar farm. I know how it's important where you always figure with the creatures and whatnot, but if you're gonna take out all the trees and vegetation, they leave the stumps though. So for what it's worth,
Is
Yeah.
the wording a crossing for the construction of, or just the lifetime of the project? What's the,
So it's wetlands crossing that are necessary for power lines and access roads that support the photovoltaic array site infrastructure shall be delineated on the site plan. Wetland crossing for the photovoltaic array site, so be the whole entire thing, shall be exempt from the town of Ware, Article 28.
yeah, so that second sentence is the whole.
they
Whole
basically
entire-
treat these sites like a power line. A power line has to cross whatever it crosses, cross-country. Whatever it encounters, it has to deal with it, and they treat these the same way.
So what we don't have here is a purpose or a proposal, or a purpose of proposal statement. So I do not have awareness personally of why the changes are advisable from the perspective of the entity that's proposing, or from planning board that's proposing. So I don't know what the problem is and what this fixes. But I'm leery about an exemption for one industry. Personally, I could share feelings about solar, but I don't know that it's relevant here. We could, as a commission, consider whether we would want to make a statement from the commission regarding this proposed change, to present or be on record with that tomorrow night for a planning board discussion or it's a public hearing on these proposed amendments, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
The first of two.
Right, the substantive one is the first one, and the second one is a sort of fixing, dotting the i's, crossing the t's, and,
More grammatical.
yeah.
I know that there's a lot of towns that got in, the towns themselves didn't get in trouble, but they regretted certain things. A lot of these solar companies come in and just wipe everything out without any regard. There was one, it's not around here, it was up in Maine, but they had 20 acres of sloping land, and it was all wide open. They put all the panels up. And once the posts and the panels are up, you can't go in there and regrade and do things. Everything's in your way. And they ended up with like 3 feet of silt at the bottom end of the site. It inundated everything. They wanted me to go there, and I just said, it's way beyond what I want to do. And I don't know what they ended up doing. They tried reseeding it. We've done some sites where we've seeded like 2 or 3 times to try to stabilize it after the fact. But they go in, and there's one, I won't say where it is, but it's on a landfill cap right now that we're involved in. When we first got there, they scolded me for riding my 4-wheeler on top of the landfill cap, because they said you can only have 5 PSI or less. So we said, well, a 4-wheeler does not have 5 PSI of ground pressure. And so we put all the sock in, and then the solar people came in with skid steers and everything else and just annihilated that landfill cap. So what's gonna happen to that cap that's 2 feet under? But that's the kind of people you're dealing with. And then they expect somebody to come in and regrade it all and reseed it. Well, once everything's erected, you can't get any equipment in there. You know, so we had bought a special machine on tracks to go in between all these things. It's not the kind of work we really want to do, so we ended up reselling it. But you're either dragging 800 feet of hose through the whole complex, going around posts, trying to reseed everything. I just want the town to be aware when they draft the rules and regulations. And you can talk to Conway. Conway they have some pretty strict rules and regulations because of this. And they make people do certain things beforehand to make sure that the site is secure. But if you don't have those rules and regulations in place for these people, and you have a way of giving a cease and desist, they're gonna annihilate whatever site they're on.
We did have one proposal come before us, probably better than 10 years ago now, talking about a proposed large-scale commercial solar project in town. So we certainly, as a town body, have not had much approach us.
There's not a lot of areas in this town where you could have a large-scale site like that. There might be a few, but if they're done.
In general, if there's a change to be alarmed about, I think probably having a healthy forest is the best measure we could have in town to moderate
I'd
whatever
rather have a
change might
solar
be.
field than a new development, because the solar panels don't require schools and,
Yeah.
you know, police and fire and highway department people and everything else. They just sit there, you know. But if I was given a choice between a solar farm and a new subdivision, I'd pick the solar farm, as long as it's done right. Just my personal
Yeah.
feeling about it.
I appreciate you sharing your professional experiences from that
I'll
side.
share it from there.
That would be absolutely appropriate, thank you.
What we're seeing for inquiries is, companies are sending out letters to large landowners looking to put a field in and lease it. So anybody that needs funds and has large property, they're looking at, like Google Earth, and they're looking at large parcels and reaching out to these people, asking them if they want to put up a commercial, and we'll offer you X amount for so many years per acre. And that's what's, I mean, I've been seeing people call and inquire about our rules for commercial field. So you've got a large piece of property and you need some money, they'll go and do everything and offer you this rent check. So I think without no rules, without any rules, it's free game for anybody. But I'm neither here nor there. I'm just saying that we get a lot of people asking about, is it against the rules for large solar fields? Because I've got 50 acres, these companies are out looking for it and want to offer money, just like a cell tower, things like that. You get a monthly check. So, and if somebody is in need, has 50 acres and not going to use it, and has no family, not going to subdivide, why not? And that's kind of what I see in conversation that comes through the door and asking questions. I'm not for it or against it, I'm just saying that, and I didn't propose it, but we do see it here, so, just to let you guys know that.
Thank you.
A few comments?
By all means, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to turn this into comments to the planning board. First of all, something as substantial as developing regulations for solar, I think it would have been prudent to approach the Conservation Commission to at least ask for some ideas and some concerns. So it's sort of surprising to see this kind of thing now. So I would make that comment to them in a nice fashion. I would make the comment that the proposed section on wetlands, 38.6, I think, doesn't seem prudent. It has no, you know, we had some discussion about different classes of wetlands and wetland functions, and it doesn't recognize that. There's not an element to see what lives in that habitat, what that wetland function is that we're about to waive off carte blanche, you know, for these. So, you know, if we're talking about cutting up to one of the few native trout streams that we have in where, it's a big deal, you know? And if we're talking about somewhere that has wood turtles, it's a big deal. It's a federally listed species. If we're talking about a low-grade swale that doesn't support significant wildlife habitat, then it's not a big deal. But just to say, you know, we're gonna go blowing through any wetland, and like Ray says, this is permanent habitat modification that'll also lead to invasive species. Anytime you go doing that, you're disturbing that wetland constantly. So they need to really have a significant ability in this regulation to force the developer on such a large-scale development to do some background wildlife biology work up front to make that decision if it makes sense for the town or not. And that should have been built into the regulation. And then they really need to spend more time looking at management of runoff and not creating sinks for endangered species. So if you go create a retention pond that, you know, might have water in October but drops out of it in January, you end up killing the turtles that hunker down in there, you know, depending on what the substrate is. And then another thing that I see, like, you know, I see this all the time in Maine, so that, you know, just like every other development, the easiest thing that gets developed is beautiful farmland. So they really, you know, they should have something in there about looking at agricultural soils and not be real quick to, you know, to allow any remaining prime agricultural soils to get whacked for this. So I just think it's like super short-sighted. I guess maybe that's too strong, but just, there could have been some better discussion.
I don't think short-sighted is too strong. I think what it is with all these EV mandates and all this big solar stuff, they just push this stuff on through.
Well, not just push it on through, push it with funding, with grant funds that are like nothing else. and they speak very loudly, and why wouldn't they if, you know, as Naomi mentioned earlier, if it means a little change in your pocket when property taxes are going up and inflation's through the roof and you're wondering, how can I stay here?
Mhm.
You know, or what assets can I pass on to the next generation, or,
It's
there-
tempting
there's-
as a landowner.
there's
one we
quite a
did in,
carrot dangled, and it is hard times
in
for lots of folks.
Canterbury, this farmer's field, it was kind of an overgrown field on a steep slope. He wasn't really using it, it was kind of rough terrain, it was an old pasture. And they put 6 acres of solar panels there. And they had all of the detention ponds on the very bottom of the slopes where all the water goes, and so this guy's getting a check. The thing is, what if this solar company goes bankrupt in the
Yeah,
meantime,
so-
which
so
they
then-
all do?
Then it's exploitive. What if
And then
the,
he's stuck with all of these things on his property in 25, because it's a 25-year lease, that's it, at 25 years, these
there's
things are done.
some points put in it to
Yeah.
try to protect that by putting bonding in effect and things like that, so
It's
that
very
would be the
complicated.
answer, but
Yeah.
the fact is, if the money that's been pushed into the system gets pulled back out, the whole thing atrophies, and,
Yeah.
and it could leave somebody not protected in a,
It could turn into a long-term disaster. We don't know in 25 years what's gonna be done with all of these things. Is that company gonna have the funding to come back and take that all out? Because that's supposed to be the deal. That same company that leased it is gonna come in and take them all out. There's no money in taking it out, so are they going to?
and I wonder if there's money in bonding up front so that everybody feels protected.
It's a
I
pretty
wonder if,
complicated thing.
yeah.
It really is.
You know, I agree with what Andy said too. I'm really concerned when we're going out of the way for one industry, because, you know, what about windmills? Why don't we make it really easier for them? And then, you know, we're pretty hard on developers that wanna put houses in, so let's lower the bar there a little bit too, you know? It's like, what are we doing? I think we need to deal with, energy generation and climate change, whatever you believe about that, but it's like I just think this thing just isn't there, you know, it's not really, probably could, you know, just a lot more thought needs to go into this, looking at other towns, cause we're kinda behind, you know, a lot of other towns and other states on what's going on, cause I read like, you know, the main newspapers, you see like towns doing, 1-year moratoriums so they can get their, you know, get some zoning and to deal with these sort of things.
And I have to wonder if these solar panels are kinda like computers, where we're rushing into it, they work good today, but the technology will improve to the point where these things are just big dinosaurs. I
It
don't
is.
know.
Yeah, it is, oh yeah,
But
all the time.
then what? Because we're looking 25 years out from the
Well-
time they build these things.
Yeah, I mean, that array sits there, but a lot of this is based on, stimulus, you know, as well. Yeah,
It's not that I oppose it, but there's a lot of red flags that go up with these places.
well, it's that speculative commercial element. That's very different than a homeowner
Yeah.
saying, hey, I've got a roof, I wanna use my roof to see what I can get out of it, and I'm very happy with
We
that.
did one solar farm job that changed hands 5 times before we finished it. It got to the point I didn't even know who to bill. I didn't know who I was billing.
So, yeah, so then you're, somewhat of a commodity that can bounce around.
They sell them to each other.
So you think Conway has a good
Conway,
structure?
yeah, they have a pretty good strict set of rules, because they got, I don't wanna say in trouble, they had one go in and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
And so the last one we did, they were very strict on it, and they had a lot of safeguards and a lot of inspections, and it went well. But it was a nice site too. That site was a flat, sandy site.
Yeah, that's,
You know, they're not all like that. The one we did in, I forgot the name of the town, southern New Hampshire, that was terrible. I got my excavators hopelessly stuck there, trying to do silt fence. It was a swamp. The entire site was a swamp. And they ended up modifying the site to the point where miraculously it's, wherever the solar panels are, they stabilize it, but they moved a ton of
well,
dirt to do it.
that's one of my concerns,
You know.
because it's, you know, some of the prime targets are the wastelands
Mhm.
that can't be used for something, the top of the landfill.
Yeah.
You know,
And
but
like
if
Steve
you-
says,
if you
there
start-
there were creatures on that site before, it was a completely wooded site before they started. Now it's a 20-acre open site. But where they built the detention ponds, those are not wet ponds. They go dry, but they're wet enough. And so, like you said, with the animals, they don't know what to do. So, there's so much that goes into this, but yet a lot of it gets overlooked by a lot of the towns because of the initiatives and all the funding, and these companies, they're really big and they're aggressive when they come in, but it's almost unchecked. It's getting better. The first few we did was an absolute disaster. You know, it was awful, but the rules and regulations on these towns is getting a little better.
So, here's another thing to consider. You know, somebody comes in, wants to up the value of a property by building a subdivision, selling off lots. Does a planning board in the process send them over to us for a hearing, for a public meeting of some sort with the ones who propose the layout on the subdivision?
Yeah, the majors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would we be cut, so to speak, or not invited to that table to consider a large-scale?
Because they already know what they're doing. If
So-
they involve us, they're not gonna get a good response.
Well, that's a concern, yeah.
Not all sites are terrible sites, but most of the ones we go on are.
And with regards to a subdivision, we don't have a whole lot of muscle to say thou shalt this, that, or the other thing. But what we usually find is the reputable developers who are looking to carry forward in the business want to work with us and try to adjust things to get our, if not approval, at least our ear and hear, and want to play nice, so to speak. And there are some that have been terrific and said, hey, this is, you know, an opportunity where I really want to shine in my ability to both, you know, have what I need and have some, you know, decent capital endeavor, and I also want to set aside something that functions or can be a part of a larger piece and can be an asset in the natural realm, an asset to the town in general, but also to the folks who he or she's trying to attract to a potential living space or house lot. So it seems like there's a thrust here to streamline by, you know, I guess you could call it removing red tape, but I'm afraid it's
Well, the Conservation
a little bit
Commission-
short-sighted, and I don't think it addresses some concern, not only within this body, but within the town as a whole, that these things,
Yeah.
if they are to be embraced, that they be done in a way that's not environmentally detrimental on the ground and on that parcel and on the watersheds that it would be
And most
developed
of
in.
these projects, it's the town's conservation commissions that have been the biggest hurdle for them to clear. So if they can circumvent this, then they're making their lives a little bit easier.
That one experience we had, what a flash. It was, whoa, hey, have you, I mean, it was, I am going to reduce my engineering cost to, you know, just about zero, and I'm gonna try to convince you as a commission to jump on and endorse my plan, and then I'll find a way to sell it, you know? So it was not not an impressive, first cut. It was a pretty hard sell, where it was, well, you should climb on board because we're gonna this, that, or the other thing here, and, ultimately, it was a pretty quick flash. I don't know how far it went with the planning board, and I don't remember the name, but it was easily 10 years ago.
Longer than that even, yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd be good, I think we should really just take a position against this thing. They ought to just pull the whole thing back and work with us on,
At the very least, they should do quite a bit of research and contact some of the other towns that have these things and get some feedback on the results.
I think, and work with us, you know, so, but they really haven't you know, for all those things we listed out, haven't, considered.
Well, I think, seeing as we did have the opportunity, we are discussing it in public session now. We could formulate a, based on what's already been said, a comment or a recommendation or a position, and maybe just say, Conservation Commission considered this proposed zoning amendment, and our position is X, Y, Z, or
Yeah,
whatever.
as written, I'd be comfortable with as written, not in favor. You don't wanna be reactive, you wanna be proactive, and as written, it's gonna lead to some reactive, some moments that, I don't know, just, when you take away all that vegetation, the water goes somewhere.
Usually
soil-
much,
the soil goes
much more
somewhere.
rapidly.
So the plant life will change.
Yeah.
The only thing you'll
Little
be able to
tilted
have
on,
there
that's
is
gone.
scrub.
A little more, there needs to be a little more regulation in there, not just a, you know, free range on the wetlands. The way Steve said at the beginning,
Yeah.
that's a good way to go. Get a wildlife biologist in there, or wetland scientists, whoever, and do an assessment of the land
It
prior
make-
to.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, as strict as this state is on wetlands, that they would, you know, turn away from these facilities and just, yeah, whatever you wanna do. I don't understand why that is.
I'm not opposed to the idea, the concept of it.
No,
You
no.
can do what you want on your property, but,
Yeah,
you know,
and
there's
if somebody
potential
wants
harm-
to
there's
put up a
potential harm
bunch,
being caused
right,
there.
they wanna put up a bunch of solar panels in a good spot, fine. Doesn't hurt anything, doesn't make any noise, doesn't do anything, but I just think of the long-term consequences. What do you do with all that trash when it's all used up? And if the landowner is stuck having to pay to remove it all, everything he made over the years is gone. That's probably the whole idea.
Yeah. The photovoltaic array owner shall secure a performance bond with the town of Ware named as the bondholder.
I was trying to predict the cost of removal 40 years from now.
The decommissioning plan shall be
if
updated
you
by a
can.
professional engineer every 5 years and adjust the bond amount for inflation or risks accordingly. A decommissioning bond shall be executed if the photovoltaic array decommissioning action has not been started 90 days after the term of the conditional use permit, or the photovoltaic array is no longer functioning or is in disrepair.
That's all well and good as long as the company is still solvent.
I think this lays out some concepts without enough development into language that really is helpful to the town or would be protective of the town's interests. And then even on 38.5, existing woodland buffer or evergreen plantings that soften the view of the array shall be installed or maintained if visible from an existing residence or state/town road. Boy, that's just full of opinion, you know, and opinion, if that's all it is, leads to argument, which, you know, one person's soften is another person's wipe it all out. Or, boy. And just in the language, existing buffer shall be installed. That's like, you can't really install the existing, but it's a, I see what the attempt is, but I certainly couldn't support it as Mike says, as written. We can sort of formalize what we discussed here with a motion, or we can provide commentary without, or probably a bit stronger if somebody wants to
Yeah, I'd rather.
make a motion on it.
Let's see your.
There.
So I make a motion that the Conservation Commission indicate to the planning board, for purposes of their public hearing, that we are opposed to adoption of.
Yep.
The conservation is opposed to adoption of Article 38. As advertised, I guess. The commission is concerned with the lack of communication during development of the article by the planning board. The commission is not in favor of waiving the wetland buffer. Without the ability to request, wildlife and wetland assessments. To determine functional value in presence of listed, threatened, or endangered species. We also are concerned with lack
All right, Steve's made a motion, written it down for us. Do we have a second on the motion?
You're gonna read it so the minute taker can understand it?
Yeah, I can try to do this.
That mic,
Yeah, all right,
mic
got
five.
it. All right, so as best I can read my own chicken scratch. Conservation Commission is opposed to the adoption of Article 38 as advertised. The commission is concerned with the lack of communication during the development of the article by the planning board. Commission is not in favor of waiving the wetland buffer without the ability to request wildlife and wetland assessments to determine functional value and presence of listed, threatened, or endangered species. We also are concerned with the lack of protection for prime agricultural soils and steep slopes. Request the planning board rescind the proposed article and work with the Conservation Commission to develop a more robust article for 2026.
Do we have a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Got a motion made by Steve, seconded by Mike. Any further thoughts on it? Thanks, Steve, for taking the effort to write that down. That's helpful. I think it captures the gist of what we've discussed here, and I think it's, highly appropriate for the commission to take a position that could be on a proposal that could be pretty impactful on the town and our stewardship of natural resources. And so the point is to, if we're gonna do it in a strong way, do it, as Ray said, with consultation with other entities that have worked on it, and, put some structure together so that towns are not left with blight or holding the bag for a good idea badly executed, potentially a good idea. And we all are, have expressed interest that we try to avoid a speculative rush to do something quick to capture a economy of the moment that might not be sustainable. So let's see if anybody wants to touch any of that, or summary, just more verbiage. All right, there being no further comments, all in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That's all in favor.
You gonna be able to write that up and fire it off to them for,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep. I will send that along tonight. Okay, thank you, everybody. Next one, hopefully the rest of this is all pretty easy. We've made contact with our legal representative, and I have a question now. Do we have more than one contact person with this law firm, or are we working with one person?
We have one does labor, one does, so the one guy you got is the guy that's been doing the land use stuff.
All right,
But there's one that does labor and negotiations.
which we won't be involved with. Excellent. So we're dealing with Attorney Whitley, and
There's usually two, one's out on medical leave, but he's the one that's out. When she gets back, they usually double, so.
with the help of the planning board and, of course, approval for going this direction, we've made contact. Unfortunately, I didn't get that out until last night, but Attorney Whitley was on the ball and responding today, so that's in motion. We'll see what comes of it. Any concerns, questions, thoughts on that? Okay. I do not see anything either presented by Naomi or in our box from planning board plan-wise, so we are good there. Jumping down to state items, we do have one letter from the Wetlands Bureau and the Water Division of Environmental Services Department at the state. And it says a forestry statutory permit by notification of work that the Army Corps of Engineers is proposing. So it is, state's been notified, and with the CC, we've been notified that on, let's see, map 403, lot 86, dash 000, and I don't recognize this notation, but G1-01-312. The Army Corps is going to do some harvest work, forestry harvest work. And all the standard Wetlands Bureau conditions are attached to that permit by notification, file number 2024-03556. So FYI on that item. We also, moving down to land management items on our agenda, have a draft contract, general services agreement with the MCC, Meadows End Consulting Company. Actually, this is interesting. I do see on the top of it that we have Meadows End Timberlands Limited. Have they moved away from Timberlands Limited to Meadows End Consulting Company?
Who's got the
Have to
proposal?
check what's been said.
I don't think I have.
Actually, didn't we get that email
Actually,
to
where
us?
do he did email it to us, yes. So, we want to go over the draft, correct anything or change anything if it needs such, or approve it with recommendation to Board of Selectmen.
Edison Consulting Company is what he's got on his email.
All right. Pardon?
I mean, it could change, some you do. What's the draft one?
Yep. That's why we're doing it.
He's got on the proposal.
Do you have the proposal? What do you call it there?
Yeah, I think we
Yeah,
just change it.
Madison Consulting Company.
Change it to Meadows End Consulting Company off the bat. I'll get this and the other one back to you, Dave, when we're done tonight. Thank you. So we want to change that wherever it says anything else. To Meadows End Consulting Company. So that's on first page.
They could call him the town forester from there out.
We
Town
could,
Forester and town is the only two that,
until the very end. Probably, I'd recommend we number the pages on this agreement, just for reference.
yeah, they got it as, to witness to Timberland Limited.
Yeah, on the one, two, what I'll call page 4. Or, I'm sorry, are you on the last
I'm
page?
on the last page.
Yeah,
under
for
witness.
acceptance, so another spot to change it.
Article 4A,
Yeah, why we,
isn't that quarterly, what we're doing? I don't know why that got, ended up being annually.
It used to be monthly, now it's quarterly, I believe you're right. You tried to get him in quarterly.
Yeah, not annually, yeah, quarterly.
Well, it says will attend several meetings annually.
Oh, alright, it's just the way it read. Yeah.
But why-
that-
It
That's,
moves.
I got it.
why would we say 1 hour meetings?
That's
Sometimes,
typically what you did, but
sometimes they're shorter, they could be longer, depending on what we have going on.
I mean, that's a general, that just threw me off where it said annually. Okay, I got it, yeah, that's fine. I mean, you could strike the 1 hour.
some of the information was from the one that he signed before for the.
Was it? Alright.
Does it? Oh, there we go. This agreement will terminate December 31, 2030.
With possible extension of additional 5 years.
Yep.
Perfect.
So I think you did it with 5 of the first, with a possible 5, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we do have quarterly presentations in one, in the first article.
Yeah, lowercase e.
So do we wanna run it by Edison and then, I guess they're the first signers and then we're the second, so the Conservation Commission doesn't even have to sign it, cause the Board of Selectmen's, they,
Contract for services, yeah.
I think the idea was you guys look at it, and it's my understanding we're changing 3 places, consulting?
Yep.
'Cause there's
Find
2
the
on the
third one?
back,
There's
there's
2
2 on
on
the
the
back.
final page.
oh, I only saw one, sorry.
No, it's in, under, right there, it says witness to Jeremy, and then it has the wrong.
Underneath it.
Underneath
All
it,
right, yeah.
Oh, yeah, at the top, yeah, okay, got it.
And that's all you're changing?
I'd like to see us put page numbers on it,
Oh, sure.
just a simple thing like that. Yep. So, let the record, show that we reviewed and can move that along to Meadows End and back to Selectmen for second signatures.
Thanks for drafting that up.
Yeah, thanks Naomi, thanks for your guidance and help. It's been a long process with a lot of curves in the road.
All right, a Poor Farm, a butter issue is
Attorney's dealing
taken
with
care
it.
of.
Yeah, he's dealing with it.
It's
so in
being
their
taken
hands.
care of, so the update is, it's in our attorney's hands, and we have, moved it to that place.
Yeah, just, with the communication, there was communication, between me and the attorney, and just getting him to take the view that people he's writing the letter to may have no understanding of anything that's going on, so really build that full picture, you know, and, so I think that's done,
Yeah.
so just wait to hear what happens.
If we haven't heard anything by next, say, the week before next meeting, would you just check
If
on
you
that,
text me,
too?
remind me, absolutely.
All right, between us, we'll try to remember to see that too. Hopefully we have a
Email
different
me, text
status.
me, whatever.
Yep.
Snail mail.
Yep. We also received, under land management, a monitoring letter, from Piscataquag Land Conservancy about, the Eastman Conservation Area Town Forest. And was there more than the Eastman on that one, I think? It wasn't actually the monitoring report, it was a summary letter. As I recall, one of the concerns was, that we would put a stop to the, ATV use from across the town line, which is, very challenging thing to address.
So, you know, we emailed Kevin Bronson, I can just forward this to Kevin Bronson again in the past, but we're not putting cameras up, we're not law enforcement. That's a fish and game, it's a state law they're
Yeah.
breaking, right, so it's, and I don't think our police chief's gonna wanna go out in the woods and sit around and watch for ATVs either, I mean, that's kind of fish and game's wheelhouse, so
Right.
just recommend that we forward this to Kevin and say, hey, can, you know, keep an eye on it.
Fair
as much as
enough.
possible.
Yeah. Then on the second bullet there, I'm not sure what this is referring to, bridges being removed? I don't recall any bridges being removed because of improving the logging road.
No idea. We never had any bridges in there.
How come,
Yeah,
how
it's-
come the PLC is policing Eastman? Don't we control Eastman?
No, they have an easement on it, so they have a duty, they monitor.
They hold
yeah.
the easement, so
Yeah.
they are the teeth,
Yeah,
On
and
Eastman?
we are the flesh. So,
Yeah.
kinda,
It's
yeah.
complicated.
Was that the bridge for the logging that Sherry had done?
But
Is
what,
that what he's talking about?
yeah, yes, I think that's what it's referring to, but I know of no bridges impacted there.
There was a little bit of a bridge, I thought, inward, because there was confusion at the one at the driveway culvert and one inside. Wasn't there a little bit that she was talking
no,
about?
there was really like, you know, way back in the day, someone stuffed some like white PVC pipes in and a little wet spot under the road. It wasn't really something you or I would do.
Right,
Well, just when you put this year, that's the only thing I could remember too.
right.
There had never been any formal bridges in there.
You know, was there a plank across a PVC pipe?
Might have been.
But my understanding was if there was such, that it was to be replaced with a culvert.
Yeah,
Right,
we-
isn't that what we were,
We've never had a bridge in there.
yeah.
And that's just the short answer. There is no,
Right.
never was a bridge.
And I don't really appreciate the last sentence, 'cause we have the logging road well gated, so I don't see how the improvement is inviting unauthorized motor vehicle use. So, we want our gates that have been successful to remain successful. If we find out otherwise, then we'll have to deal with it. What else? Chevy Hill, tree stands, game camera, some ATV use.
Are folks not allowed to put up tree stands on town forest land?
No, they are. There was a change in Fish and Games law this year. You gotta have your name on the stands, you gotta remove them,
Yep.
you gotta have your name on your game cameras. That's brand new. 2024. Just give the whole letter to Kevin and go have at it,
They've
you
been
know?
talking about that for a while though. It's finally
Yeah,
in the law.
yeah.
Is that what the bullet is?
They weren't specific, so they
Just
weren't
that it's
compliant.
Oh, okay. That's another,
Just Just give the whole letter to
Fishing
Kevin, here
game.
you go. Yeah.
Steve, would you just, I think, Naomi, was this letter something that was emailed to you?
It came hard, and I scanned it. It came folded.
We've got their emails though, right? So we can just, I can email.
I
Kevin
scanned
Bro-
it and sent it to you in an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you
Right.
did, I'm reading off it now, but I'm saying the PLC monitor, what's his name there? We got, I
Dan.
can get his
Dan
email.
Ewald.
Would you just say, Dan, we took a look at this, thank you for sharing it with me, we've forwarded this to,
I'm just gonna CC him on the forward and
Okay, good.
Bronson, you know?
That'll do it.
So
Thank
here
you.
go.
enough said.
It came snail mail because he used the wrong PO box. We don't have a PO box anymore.
Yeah,
Right,
that was a long time ago.
right, okay.
Yeah, if that's okay, we just,
Yep,
The land behind my place is managed by the PLC, part of a conservation for the subdivision next to us.
yeah.
So
yeah.
we have nothing to do with that piece at all.
No, you know, that was a great example of, actually the only good example of an open space development, because, you know, much like this, that annual monitoring, you know, if you hold an easement, you're supposed to do that, and you're supposed to enforce it, so we were really happy just to not have to deal with that. Who ended up owning that? Do we own the actual?
which one was it?
He-Fields.
Fessenden?
Doesn't
We don't own it, we have nothing to do with it, we
I
just,
don't think,
yeah, it was,
I don't think we own it, and I know we don't have, I think Craig might have retained ownership of it. I'm not sure.
you know, it'd be really ideal in that situation, like, you know, you sell one big house with a big chunk of land with it, with the easement on it, and the other ones are the, you know, smaller.
Right.
You know, we have
So,
nothing to do with it.
yeah,
It's great.
that one's a exemplar case, so.
It
all
actually
right.
had a square shape to it
Yep.
too, or made sense,
Oh,
it
yeah.
wasn't like crazy boundaries.
No, and it's kind of an offset from the original piece, so it stands all by itself,
Yeah,
basically landlocked now.
that was a good one.
Dave, thank you for being so well prepared for us. That is immensely appreciated. All right, anything else under land management? All right, anybody want to take a swing at our annual report? I have an idea. I have not executed, but I will need to do that very shortly for an annual report. How do you folks think conceptually about my trying to hash on the financial information Beth provided us on conservation fund usage and town forest account usage over the last, whatever number of years she gave us, and try to work a annual report around some of the financial, or the two main financial vehicles that enable land management in town, public land management.
Yeah, I would do that, to make sure we mentioned that the Barden, demolition took place too.
Right, not in lieu of important milestones. So,
I mean, if you have some ideas, I don't mind like bounce,
It's probably important for people to understand that it doesn't cost the taxpayers money to do the stuff we do, and a lot of people think that it does,
yeah.
so.
we're definitely under a, not that it's a new thing, but a period of some financial stress across the town due to expenses that are real and that we've approved as a town, so might be a good time to work on that.
Yeah.
All right, I'll endeavor to circulate a draft, and if in the meantime you have any good ideas on it, or if somebody really is so fired up that you want to take it from me, please let me know.
The only other thing, I think, from a town concern standpoint, was we're making progress with our trail planning.
Yeah, yeah,
Just a sentence, or whatever.
thanks for the idea. Yep,
Soon to be Felch, right? Is Felch the one that we're gonna
now I'm gonna jump on Barden.
Barden, yeah,
Barden?
yeah,
Yeah.
Barden.
Yeah, once we can, you know, I'll probably look towards a little bit warmer weather, maybe we can beat the ticks, but that's hard to do. We stomp around in there and have a good
Did we walk
look.
around with Jeremy on Felch Farm and
Oh, on the last harvest, we
Yeah,
did,
that
we
was-
did,
Yeah,
yep.
well, that's already done. Yeah.
That's what I was
Yeah.
getting to, right?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for staying with that, Mike, yeah.
On the Barden one, we probably wanna think about doing a little bit of cleanup there.
Yeah, and when you get a chance, you're gonna,
I went up there.
you did, what'd you find on the,
The well,
yeah,
it's capped really well,
okay,
but there's a pipe coming out the top of it, which is sealed real good. There's a wire going down into it, so I don't understand what they did there, because usually you have a pitless adapter down, it doesn't look like there is. It looks like they put the well pump down in there, and the pipe comes right out the top, and there's a couple of valves. And I wonder how they kept that from freezing when they were using it.
Right.
I don't know.
I
But
don't think the doghouse was insulated, and
I doubt it.
I don't know that they
So I don't
use
know
enough,
what they did
enough
there.
water to maintain a heat
But-
mass there.
If you wanted to remove that pump, I don't think it'd be too hard. I didn't unscrew the cap because it's on there pretty good. But if you could unscrew the cap, pull the pump out, I don't think it'd be a big deal. The wire and the pump would come out all at once, and then seal it back really good. And the only reason I'd want it sealed really good is not so much for somebody getting hurt or anything, but in case some stupid vandal wants to put poison or some sort of chemical down in the well and contaminate the water all around it. 'Cause that's deep water, so if you pour something down in there, it's gonna, well, you know, that's your
Right.
thing.
Yeah,
So, right now, it's sealed to the point where somebody wouldn't be able to do that very easily. So if you leave it alone, that's fine, but for some vandals, it could be tempted to break the pipe or do something, you never know. And then the blocks, the cement blocks around that round thing out in the back there, it'd be nice if we just cleaned that up and just buried that debris, and we could have a nice,
we've got the pit waiting there the pit and the pile ready to do that.
yeah.
And I think if we could investigate those pilings a little bit, the concrete ones, see whether we could
Those
roll
are
those
easy-
in.
Yeah, those are easy to pull out, they're only
It would
2 feet.
be a good
So,
recovery there.
like I offered before, come springtime, when the ground is dry and nice, I mean, I could spend a few hours up there with my excavator and just clean it all up.
I think that's a great tentative, yeah.
Just to clean up the hill there.
And that way, everything would be nice and level, and you could leave that concrete pad that those blocks are on, leave that there.
Yep.
And then someday, we could put a bench or something on that, and it would be a dry, hard place for somebody to just sit.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I wonder if we could, if
Put a
we're doing
kiosk
that,
there.
get
Kiosk.
Public Works to run a few loads of gravel over there while we're at it. Go look at that driveway, see how
Yeah.
it goes a little
yeah,
rough.
maybe, they could. Maybe we could grade, there might be gravel there that we could just grade what's there, and
Yeah.
it would be good.
We'll take a look at
But
it.
it wouldn't take a whole lot of time to clean that up nice.
Oh, that'd be an awesome spring fever project. Catch it as the peepers are coming out.
Yep. So I think that would be. a good
Thanks
thing.
for looking at that, Ray, and I think what you're suggesting makes a world of sense.
And I don't
and
think
we
we
could-
need to involve a well company to go there and pay money for them to do what we could do in half an hour.
And if we find out otherwise, that's always an option.
Right.
Yeah.
So is that an aluminum cap on there or steel?
No, it's a steel cap. I haven't seen too many like that. It's not like the normal ones you
Yeah.
see. This thing, the pipe comes up, and it's almost like a plug, and then there's bolts on top that you tighten up, and it expands that plug.
Yeah, an expansion plug,
And
yeah.
the pipe comes up through it, and it just, when you tighten the bolts down, it tightens everything up, so you can't get any leakage.
So that's where their plastic water pipe is coming up through that?
Come right up through the top.
It needs a little bit of work, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's not a hard
And-
thing to do.
We'll see where we get with it, but,
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, a difficult place to get into and have a weld job if we wanna do something a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Probably April or May, when the weather is dry, you know, when you could go in there and it wouldn't take much time.
Yep. Well, let's keep that in mind. All right, I'll kick it to you. Dave, anything to share with us as liaison?
Yeah, first I'll start off, I forgot to bring your concern about the gate to the board. I'll make sure I do that. I forgot to transfer it off the agenda into my notebook, so.
Yeah, down there, the banks, that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I will bring that up, this week. Did we get an updated quote for your computer?
I think oh no, what Zuzu was working on the GIS, right? And then Naomi, you were gonna,
I haven't heard from, she was gonna tell me what we needed, I haven't,
Okay, so you still need some
I
information?
thought she was gonna look at GIS, cause I don't know.
no, so, I mean, I already told, so they know to look at Arc Pro for the specs, but they never got back to us after I had that emails. And then Zuzu was working on the actual software acquisition.
All right, moving on from that, we're wrapping up, budget, warrant articles. Got the, as you know, the board approved, to approach legal, regarding, Duck Pond. I relayed to the board that you would like to mimic the 2024 warrant to expend up to $25,000 from the forest account. And, going through the budget, we went through your lines. And we reduced 4 of them, I believe, 3 or 4, down to $1, because there was little to no spend on those, and I believe you've been paying those out of your conservation fund. There's 2 lines left that, we had on there. One was for, mowing. You had $150 in that line, and then there were office supplies. And then there was a question on Monday whether those could be paid as well out of your, conservation fund.
Thank you.
And the last one was a question.
I
So,
think they could, Andy, I mean, he's saying just get rid of the budget.
Essentially, that's what it sounded like.
Well, from the comments that the board had said, basically, it's conservation land that we're maintaining, it should come out of the conservation.
right, which is the same push that they're making on the Parks and Rec, who has a revolving fund as well.
We have the unrestricted John Champion Fund too, that we use occasionally for things.
Yeah, there's some dollars. There's some change left there, and, yeah, that's certainly not a hardship on the commission. We've always sought to, pay with the dedicated funds what we can, and, the town budget is, not a significant financial element to the work we do. So that's certainly not hardship.
We'll reduce the line to $1, so the lines will stay. If there's any impact that you wanna relook at that, then following year we can take a look.
So if we ever run into the case where there's something small that we're not allowed to spend, say for state law or something out of the conservation, are we able to just request that from, like, is there a general, like, administrative line somewhere for the town, or,
I'll pose that question to Beth, because I'm not sure.
yeah? Naomi's budget, ask Naomi.
Yep. Well, we've never taken a use it or lose it approach on that, so no worries.
Yeah,
And it could be somewhere down the road, it makes sense to add some numbers, and we'd have to make that case with the selectmen in the future, so.
well, the thing I was thinking of was like training, cause we never go, remember Pat used to go to that.
Yeah, we haven't used that in 15 years.
I
probably.
know. I mean, we could probably pay for that out of the unrestricted John Champion Fund if we really had to. If anybody wanna go. I know it's always during hunting season, so I never go.
Right. Yep. All right, what was, you did mention, if I can roll back what you just commented on. What was the third item, second or third? What do you have there?
The mowing.
On the budget?
Yeah, right, on the budget.
I thought we paid for mowing out of conservation anyhow.
We've
Oh,
used
you-
both.
Yeah, I know you did for the field, but there's $150 on the line. And I think you used it last year, if I'm not sure, if I'm not mistaken.
And we still haven't received from Mr. Wilson an invoice, or we did? That came in for this year and it's been taken care of? Okay.
Did we
But
pay
then
it out
there
of
was-
conservation, or, cause I swear I motioned it out of conservation.
On that you did, yeah.
Yeah,
But there was,
I am,
there was a
think I'm getting forgetful.
2024 there was a 2024 spend out of the mowing for 150.
must've been on that. Yeah, we must've taken it out of that then.
I thought that was like 400 that you
Oh, it was
took
an
out
up to amount, but I didn't even know that we had a line item for mowing.
And then there were office supplies.
Right.
When was the last time we bought any office supplies? The manuals?
Had-
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I started here, I bought a calling card so I could call on,
You had 75
business.
this year, so
say again?
$75 this year.
The
Budgeted?
Last 2 years, there was as a spend. Last 2 years, there was no
office
spend.
supplies.
Yeah.
On what? Conservation manuals maybe? Did we buy any of those, or? Oh, those are online now, aren't they?
No, that's probably it. We did have to purchase. Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head there, so.
But yeah, the other lines that had come down, there was training dues.
Right. Well, the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission dues, do we still have anything left there? Or that one's been zeroed out?
They're not zeroed out, they're all taken down to $1, so the line still is there.
That one we use every year.
Yeah.
But, like I said. we
Which
can-
one, on the dues?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had 0 on it this year.
So how did we pay that this year?
Or did you pay this?
It was this year paid last year.
Did they bill us?
Yeah, they're not perfect on it, but, and I'm not perfect on it
You
either,
had
so.
450 in 2022, 40, 2023, and 0. We were assuming you were paying that out of your other conservation fund.
Or maybe it just didn't. Jeremy was paying that through, and then they were billing us for that,
Right.
TOA. No, that's that New Hampshire Association of Conservation. Wonder if we're not a member, no one emailed.
Well, we might not be in good standing.
Yeah,
Do we need to be?
yeah, I mean, they're,
It's a valuable, sort of umbrella group that supports us.
Can that be paid out of your conservation fund?
We can do that, but you mentioned something on, maybe it's before you mentioned budget.
Yep.
Something about Duck Pond. Was that just on the
Oh, that
the
we
authority to, or authorizing or contacting?
contacting
attorney?
legal, yeah.
Okay. Very well. Thank you, Dave.
Oh, and I did, I did bring up, you were gonna expend, you're looking to expend 10,000, up to 10,000. But I did pose the question of if it was a town, conservation easement, could we use town funds? I haven't got an answer on it yet, so when I do, I'll let you know.
We haven't gotten a cost estimate on what's involved with it yet.
Yeah, but
Sorry to hear that.
so when I get an answer,
Yeah.
I'll let you know. She was, it was late when I asked, and I think she got confused about the question. She gave me an answer, but it wasn't the answer. It wasn't the question that I had asked, so.
Right.
So, all right, we're already in another fiscal year. Does that be, like,
Guess what, we're not gonna spend anything from our budget the next 3 months. And then beyond that, we're not gonna spend anything from our budget either, so.
no, but on the 10,000 where it went to the attorney, I didn't know if we needed to encumber. It's kinda weird, cause it's conservation, but like, I mean, we should be good, cause it's not something that, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It would be different, town forest account funds. And of course, yeah, the budget is,
That's interesting, with an open-ended, do you encumber like the up to amount? Guess we don't have to worry about it.
no, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Yep. And honestly, if we find out something and that what's involved, then we have a discussion in the future that we can amend or fill in some of the blanks on just what's involved. That was just a placeholder, you know, we're serious about, or need to be serious about honoring legal language in the documents that we sign. The easements are significant.
Good to get a different set of eyes on that and see what the interpretation is.
Yeah, I was not impressed with the previous interpretation.
Yeah.
We shall see. I'd try to just lay it out and see what we get and then engage with it. So, all right, everybody, I think we've made a January meeting here. Do we have a,
Motion to adjourn at 8:55.
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we adjourn at 8:55.
Before 9.
You guys, I don't want